The curse of Yvette and Kelly. When a werewolf took what was rightfully theirs. It was a dark and dismal night, the kind of night that made one feel like there was something sinister lurking in the shadows. For Kelly and Yvette, that something sinister was a pack of bloodthirsty werewolves. Kelly and Yvette had been out on a romantic stroll when they noticed something strange in the distance. As they got closer, they saw that it was a pack of werewolves howling at the moon. For a moment, they were transfixed by the sight, until they realized that the werewolves were slowly inching closer to them. It was then that they suddenly remembered why it was so important to stay away from the woods after dark. Kelly and Yvette quickly made a run for it, but the werewolves were hot on their heels. As they ran, they could hear the werewolves getting closer and closer. The howling was getting louder and more menacing with each step they took. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity of running, Kelly and Yvette stumbled upon a clearing in the woods. It was quite obvious that this was the werewolves' lair. As they looked around, they could see bones and other remnants of previous victims scattered about. At that moment, the werewolves emerged from the shadows and surrounded them. Kelly and Yvette knew that it would be impossible to escape, so they braced themselves for the worst. The alpha werewolf stepped forward and growled at them. It was then that Kelly and Yvette realized that these were no ordinary werewolves. These creatures were twisted abominations that seemed to possess an unnatural intelligence. The alpha werewolf then stepped right up to Kelly, looking him in the eye. With one swift bite, he tore into Kelly's throat and drained the life from his body. Yvette watched in horror as her beloved fell lifeless to the ground. The alpha werewolf then began to feast on Kelly's body, and the rest of the pack followed suit. Yvette was beside herself with grief, and all she could do was sit there and watch as her beloved was consumed by these monsters. It seemed as though Kelly's death had awoken something within Yvette. She suddenly found the strength to stand up and fight for her life. She grabbed a nearby branch and began to swing it wildly at the pack of werewolves. At first, the werewolves were stunned by Yvette's courage, but then they began to retaliate. Yvette fought valiantly, but the werewolves were too powerful. Eventually one of them bit into her shoulder, and that was the last thing Yvette remembered before she blacked out. When Yvette awoke, the pack of werewolves was gone and dawn was breaking. She looked around and saw Kelly's lifeless body lying there and burst into tears. She stumbled over to him and cradled his body in her arms. Yvette had no idea how long she had been unconscious, but when she awoke she found out that something else had changed. Yvette was no longer the same person she had been before. She now possessed an unnatural strength, heightened senses, and a strange craving for something she did not understand. Eventually, Yvette realized that she had been transformed into a werewolf by the alpha werewolf's bite. She had become one of them. Yvette mourned the loss of Kelly and tried to make sense of her new life, but she knew she had to keep moving. She decided to stay with the pack of werewolves and use her newfound powers to help protect them from harm. Yvette set off with the pack and never looked back. For many years, she devoted her life to protecting her new family and relished in her newfound strength and power. Until one day, when Yvette suddenly realized that the pack of werewolves had become her own, and that she was now their leader. It was then that Yvette realized the horrifying truth: she was now an alpha werewolf. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and tell us what you think in the comments. And of course, don't forget to subscribe.